be having the CEO and founder of GelSana, Melissa Krebs, presenting about her novel polymer that functions as medical devices and drug delivery vehicles.
Hi, can you all hear me and see my slides?
Sorry, Melissa. I forgot. We actually have judges.
Okay.
Judges, please sit in this front row. In front of you, there's the microphone. So afterwards, you can ask questions. The power button's on the bottom. In addition, there is QR codes for the forms. If there are any other investors out there who would like to fill out these forms, just let us know and we'll give you the QR code. So after each presentation, fill this out, submit it, give us the thumbs up, and then we'll start with the next company. But please introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Joe. I represent Legendary Ventures.
Hi, I'm Kay Villaflores. I'm a venture partner with Beanstalk Ventures.
Hi, I'm Bobby Edelman, and I'm with a number of groups here in San Diego Angel Conference, New Fund, and I invested myself in early stage companies.
My name is CJ Hinshaw, and I'm here with Bootstrap Venture Partners. Thank you.
Hello, Dr. Jennifer Kim from Children's Health Orange County.
So go ahead and start whenever you're ready, Melissa.
Sounds great. I apologize that I had to join via Zoom. We just landed in Florida a couple of hours ago for a big wound care conference. So I had two competing things on the same day, unfortunately. But thank you for having me. I'm excited to tell you more about GelSana. We are developing novel biopolymers to drive tissue regeneration through the chemistry of the polymer. And one of our big target areas that we're initially interested in is in the care of severe wounds in the advanced wound care market, because there are many instances where there are chronic wounds such as diabetic ulcers or burns that have a very high cost of care and limited treatment options. So as an example, for diabetic ulcers, we spend $78 billion a year in the United States caring for these wounds, and yet still every 20 seconds, a patient loses a limb due to a wound that wouldn't heal, became infected, and then ultimately led to the amputation. And the major issue with some of these more severe types of wounds or chronic wounds is that the current treatment of care is not addressing the underlying issues that are happening in the wound bed and causing such problems with healing. So we've developed a new class of polymers. There's Witter ionic polymers, and so they have very close repeating positive, negative charges. Because of the way that we create these polymers with this special charge density, they evade the foreign body reaction completely. They actually reduce inflammation in the wound bed, and they prevent bacterial adhesion and biofilm formation completely. These are, as you can see in this picture, these are hydrogel-based materials, but they're actually very stretchable, and so their handling properties are very differentiated from the types of hydrogels that you may be familiar with on the market. We're heading first to the market later this year with our first product called Clarigel. This is a Class 1 medical device, and so we can register with the FDA later this year and immediately begin clinical use. So we're right on the verge of being able to use this in humans, which is really exciting. The indications of use for this product will include diabetic foot ulcers, venous ulcers, pressure ulcers, first and second degree burns, and surgical incision. So there's quite a wide variety, but we've intentionally designed this polymer to target the inflammatory response that's present in these chronic wounds in particular, and think that will make huge gains in terms of patient healing. So we do have data on file where if we take macrophages that are highly inflamed and co-culture them with the hydrogel alone, we actually see a complete reduction of inflammatory markers. We also do have tissue data showing similar response. And then we also can see that if we take these hydrogel materials, put them into bacteria and let them grow for a while, remove them and look at what's adhering to the surface, we have no bacterial adhesion to the surface. And that's because of the very close charge density that these zwitterionic polymers have. We've shown in diabetic animal trials that a single application of Clarigel will heal diabetic animals that have impaired healing on the order at which healthy animals are healing, indicating that these zwitterionic polymers that are part of this product are correcting the chronic impairment to wound healing that exists in these animals. We also have done head-to-head trials against lead competitor products, and we've seen gains. And so we see that we're accelerating the wound healing in diabetic animals as well compared to our competitors. And another really interesting feature of this is that we've engineered in the ability to embed drugs in a certain way where we can achieve highly controlled drug delivery over time. So here on this graph is one example of a drug, platelet-derived growth factor, that's found in Regranix. And we're interested in targeting a 1-week time period, with the idea being that we can create medicated bandages and the patients can get new bandages when they're in outpatient wound care clinics, which is about once a week, and not have to touch the bandage during the week. And yet drug is being steadily dosed into that wound bed to really make significant gains on healing time. Beyond the area of chronic wounds, we're also interested in battlefield wounds. We've had a lot of interest so far from the DoD. Also scarring, as zwitterionic polymers have been shown to be antifibrotic. We're working with a horse surgeon up at Colorado State University on looking at the possibilities for these materials in different veterinarian medicine applications. We also have the ability to create these as injectable drug delivery depots, which could be future products down the line. And we've also been approached by kind of external fields, including cosmetics and electrode companies that are interested in these anti-inflammatory polymers to incorporate into their products. But right now we're really focused on the wound care market and thinking about driving revenue growth via a pipeline of innovative products in the wound care market initially. We are under contract with a contract manufacturing organization where we're making our first product right now. And ultimately we want to sell into clinics and also through distribution. We're looking for early exit opportunities for selling to strategics. This slide shows you an overview of our product pipeline as it is today. So we're heading quick to the market with Clarigel as our first product. We are heavily supported by non-dilutive funding. And so you can see that under development, we have dressings for severe burns that's supported by Air Force or AFWORKS SBIR grants. We also have a wound dressing with antimicrobial product that's being supported through R&D funds from the state of Colorado. And we have a topical drug delivery product for diabetic foot ulcers with a drug that is supported by a non-dilutive grant from National Institutes of Health. And we have research in other areas going on as well, including in hemostasis. We do have a strong IP portfolio, and we've licensed these patents from Colorado School of Mines and into GelSana. GelSana also has IP of its own at this stage. And right now we're raising a 1.5 million seed 2 round. We just have 400,000 remaining. So we're almost to the end of this particular round. We've raised almost 5 million total to date, with a little less than half of that being from non-dilutive funding. This particular seed round is a preferred equity round, and the intention in terms of use of funds is to push Clarigel to FDA registration late this year, and then we can immediately begin using it in the clinic with key opinion leaders as a soft launch. Ultimately, we're seeking acquisition by some strategics in the wound care field. So some examples are shown here. And I'll just conclude to say that this is a sampling of our team. So I am CEO. We have a COO that recently joined with extensive experience from J&J and other topical wound care companies. And then we also have a board of directors, a clinical advisory board, and many business advisors that have helped us get to where we are today. So happy to take any questions.
Hi, Dr. Krebs. This is Jennifer Kim. Um,
Thank you for presentation. Just curious, is there any human clinical trials going on or one?
So not yet. Our intention is to register Clarigel as our first product with the FDA. And then we have clinical studies planned for next year. And so as a class 1 medical device, clinical trials are not required. But we do have clinical studies planned from a commercialization perspective. So thinking about scaling our sales with human data.
Great presentation. Thank you so much. In regards to the application, it seemed like it's in a tube and you apply it as a semi-solid. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
What's the surface area, maximum surface area that it can be applied to? And do you foresee any issues with the evenness of application across the zone, especially if there's going to be a drug delivery applied?
Yeah, great question. So for our first product, for Clarigel, we don't have a particular surface area limitation. So this product is actually going to come in 10 milliliter syringes. And so you'll have 10 milliliters of volume to work with per syringe. The polymer material itself is also self-healing though. So if you take two disparate pieces and push them together, the bonds will knit together and you'll end up with one cohesive piece. And so it's actually possible to use as many syringes as you need to, and you'll end up with one cohesive covering. So we're not surface area limited, especially as our first product is a class 1 medical device and doesn't have a particular dose per se. It's really just use whatever you need to cover the wound. As we move into the drug-laden products further down our pipeline, that's definitely, that's a consideration we'll have to take into effect. So there will be a dosing for those. And so it'll be likely extrudable and based on volume. And so that you know the concentration of drug. And so you apply this certain amount of volume to a particular area of wound. But I would just say that will come as we get through our preclinical studies and things become more clear in terms of the dose that's actually going to be required for those.
First of all, nicely articulated. You covered many of the key points that most early stage investors would be interested in, but I have a couple of comments and questions.
Sure.
By the way, first comment would be from an early stage investor. This room, obviously, there's a lot of people who probably have some expertise here, but very often you're talking to potentially angel groups or angel funds or people who may not have so much expertise. So it's simplify it as much as you can down to the base. Less text is more. And the presentation itself, you want to be a little more consistent in terms of the look and feel of it. But most of it was quite well done. I do have a couple of specific questions about in terms of revenues, what you kind of see this growing to. You talked about exits. And quite often as investors, we see exits, but it's just kind of a checklist of what they are, as opposed to whether you're engaged at some level for some strategic reason or have some knowledge. That's always helpful. So if you could answer those two questions, it'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a great question. So in the area of wound care, we see a wide variety of exits in terms of how much revenue the company has before they're acquired. So I guess I would say there's a wide variety, but a very recent example was a company called Caresis that does like fish skin grafts. So a really unique product offering. They had 100 million in revenue, but they were acquired for over $1 billion. So just to kind of give you some idea of a recent revenue multiple. There also is activity at a much smaller scale. So we have had early conversations with some of these big strategics, and that's actually partly why I'm here in Florida at this big wound care conference, because we have a couple of meetings set up with them as well here. And what they've told us is really, so they do want to see some revenue. It is possible that if we see some early revenue from our first product and really good clinical uptake, and so increasing revenue build over time, they can get interested at that stage. And then it's it's going to be a decision if we want to do that early exit opportunity, which could be soon, or do we want to continue to build on our product pipeline, continue to build value into the company, and exit for a bigger number later with a higher revenue. I don't know if that answers your question, but these are the things that we're considering as we continue to build. The first step, of course, is get Clarigel to the market and start to see revenue in the first place. And everybody's told us that that's what, that's the first step. So we'll start there and take it from there.